well, but I hope that you'll be understanding if I get a little quiet or something like that. So first off, thank you so much for agreeing to spend some of your evening with me. I hope that I can give back to you so that by the time our time tonight is up, you walk out of the room going, hey, I've learned something new, or I've reminded you about something perhaps that you already knew that you had just forgotten. That sound like a fair goal for tonight? All right, good stuff. So what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about the top 10 secrets to having an amazing career. Now, I am in the middle of a career. My question to you is, are you in the middle of a career? Or are you just working at a job? Oh, doggone, did I have to put it that way? Oh, I don't know. It's a fair and valid question, right? Because we can get confused every once in a while. I don't know. So let's have a little bit of a talk about this. So let's talk about your career. First question for you, it's a math question, because I know you guys love math questions, right? How long does a career last? So here's an interesting question. When do you retire? When are you eligible to retire in the United States of America? How old are you?
68, 67,
65, 66.
Well, let's say 65. And admittedly, it's changing. It's constantly changing. Okay, but let's say 65. When did you start working? Let's play a game and say 20.
Yeah.
Doesn't 20 seem like really old? Wow. Yeah, okay, whatever. So anyway, 20 you started, 65 you ended. So how long is a career? 45-ish years. That's exactly right. All right, so you were 20, which is about this long. You will retire. And you retire, you live for, let's say, another 20 years, and then you die. Okay, that's fine. So, bam, we're talking about that middle section, right? 45 years, arguably the largest chunk of your life, correct? Well, if that's the biggest part of your life, then I would certainly hope that you have a plan for it. So, what is your career plan? Good question. I get up in the morning, I go into work, I come home, I go to bed. Is that your career plan? Well, it's a little harsh when you put it that way, but yes, right now that is currently my career plan. Okay, so this is the concept. Your career is arguably the longest part of your life. And if it's the biggest chunk of your life, it sure seems like you should have a plan for getting the most out of it. What do you want from your life? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to accomplish? What's realistic? Right? Look, you're going to go work because you would like to get paid, because you like to take the money and spend it on things like food and house and clothing and all that sort of stuff like that. Well, if you're going to work, you should probably spend your time doing something that you enjoy. You wouldn't want to just get a job at a company that your dad owned because it seemed like the right sort of thing to do. You'd really want to get a job that you really enjoyed, right? You came home at night and said, wow, that was another great day at work. I can hardly wait until tomorrow. And if you don't feel that way, then perhaps you're in the wrong job, right? Well, okay, let's have some talks here. All right. So 45 years is about how long your career is going to last. Quick question. Realistically speaking, when you come out of college, let's say you get a job. Yay. Are you going to retire from that job? Freaky weird people not answering. Anyway, no. You're probably not going to retire from that company. So you're going to work for more than one company, right? How many companies are you going to work for during your 45-year career? How many different companies can you expect to work for?
I already passed this up.
So you're already through 7, rocket boy. 10's a good number. Anybody else? Got a guess?
5.
5's good. All right. How about?
More.
More? Well, what's more? Give me a
I'm
number.
already at 10.
You got 10. All right, that's good. So I'm hearing 10. I'm hearing 5. I'm hearing... The experts tell us the magic number is 12.
Wow.
Now, here's the trick. 12 is an average. Average means middle. Means half the people have more, half the people may have less. I personally may have gone through 8. And I'm probably a little bit past halfway. And, dear God in heaven, I'm a stuck-in-the-mud sort of engineer guy. I would have been perfectly happy coming out of college, getting a job, working 45 years, getting a gold watch, and retiring. I would have been very, very happy with that. Things did not work out that way for me. Okay? They probably will not work out that way for you either. So if you're working at a job, and if it's not number 12, you need to be thinking at all times, what's the next job I'm going to have? And the reason you need to be thinking that is because there will be another job until you hit 12, or 13, or 14, or 15, or whatever it is, your magic number, right? So the job that you're at, present company accepted, is not the one that you're going to retire from, probably. Something to think about, huh? And something arguably we don't think about every day, but you probably should. Yeah, don't become too friendly with those people you work with, right? It's temporary, man. Yeah, it's just all right. So during our brief time together tonight, it is my pleasure to present to you my career story. I've had a bunch of jobs. I've learned a bunch of things. How about if I spend just a moment or two telling you about my jobs and what I've learned? Now, my jobs are my jobs. You don't get to have my jobs. But maybe the things that I've learned I can pass on to you, and maybe I'll save you a little bit of grief. Okay? Let's see if we can learn something together. How does my job start? Dun, dun, dun. It starts at Boeing. What does Boeing make? Airplanes. Okay, in my particular business, they made military airplanes. Specifically, they made the U.S. Navy's F/A-18 fighter jet. If you're a guy, working on a fighter jet is a very, very cool place to be. So here's the weird story. So, I'm a junior in college. Oh, college. How old do you have to be to go to college, man? That's like really old, right? Anyway, so I'm a junior in college. It's the summer between my junior and senior year. A friend of mine's going to a job fair. He says, hey, want to come along? I ain't got nothing else going on. So I crank out like a resume, because you can't go to job fair without a resume, and I didn't have one, so I made one. Went off, I handed out my resume like everybody else does. No big deal. Went off to college. 2 weeks! I'm 2 weeks into my senior year in college and I get a phone call. Yeah, well, hey, yeah, so we're Boeing and we're hiring. We were wondering, once you graduate, would you like to come and work for us? Okay, sure, no problem. Click. So at the beginning of my senior year in college, I had a guaranteed job. I would just like to say my senior year in college was the best year ever. Because all I had to do was pass my classes. A's, B's, that didn't matter anymore. C, woohoo, we're good to go! Because I got myself a job. Sort of like my dad owned the company, almost a little bit like that. I had a guaranteed job when I got it. How cool was that? It was very cool, actually. So I went to work for Boeing, and I worked there for 6 years. Or as we like to say, high school plus 2 years.
Is that in Seattle?
No, it's actually in St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow, quite close to my university.
Is that incredible or what? It's like we may have known each other. Not probably. That's still a story. Yeah. Right. Okay. Anyway, so I worked as a software engineer for 6 years. Now, it was an interesting job. So what we did at the beginning of the year was we started working with software. We worked on the software throughout the year. My specialty was secure electronic data communications for the F/A-18. Thank you very much, world's expert right here at one point in time. Anyway, at the end of the year, we got there with the software and we gave it to the U.S. Navy. They said, thank you very much. Hey, we got some other changes. Would you make these changes? Poof, we'd start the process over at the beginning of the year. And we'd work all year and deliver the software at the end of the year. Guess how many times we did this?
6 times.
6 times! Look, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but after 6 times, I sort of got it. I understand how this worked, okay? It was a little boring, okay? I mean, but I was really good at it. I have some friends that I started working with 28 years ago at Boeing who are still there. They are still doing the same job. They are the world's experts at high-altitude bombing algorithms, which is really pretty impressive. I mean, I would love to be the world's expert at anything. Now, the problem that they have, if their job ever goes away, what is the demand for people who know how to create high-altitude bombing algorithms in assembly language? Nil, right? Not an awful lot of people really want that skill. I mean, they're good at it, but I never saw that as a terribly valuable skill. So I love my friends. I think they're great people, and they're very good at what they do, but they've got a niche skill. All right. I left Boeing. Why did I leave Boeing? This was a comfy place, good paycheck, all sorts of good stuff like that. What happened was I got a master's degree. Went to school at night, got a master's degree. Now here's an interesting thing. From Boeing's perspective, one day I did not have a master's degree. I graduated, yay, have a party. The next day I had a master's degree. Did they see me any differently? No. One day I'm Jim Anderson, next day I'm Jim Anderson, right? Were they willing to pay me anything more for my master's degree? No. Jim Anderson, Jim Anderson. There's no difference, right? Screw that. So I went out looking for another job, and I found a company that was willing to give me roughly a 15% wage increase because I had a master's degree. But the company you work for will never pay you enough if you get another degree, because you're the same person yesterday without the degree as you are today with the degree. So if you're getting an advanced degree, you cannot stay at the company that you're working at because they will not value the degree that you get. You must switch jobs. Great. So what did I learn? I learned secret number 10, go to college. Be sure to finish if you do. Well, you guys already finished college, right? Well, okay. Is anybody going to graduate school? MBA, graduate school, something? Yeah, okay. If you do, the question I have for you is why? Why are you going to graduate school?
Let's give him an answer.
And I went to school for 15, I went to college for 15 years, grand total of 15 years. And God's honest truth, I did not have an answer to that question. It wasn't until I got out that I understood the 2 reasons that you go to college. Do you guys like to know what the 2 reasons are? It's a little late now, admittedly. Like if you went to school in Pennsylvania, you think you know this, but it maybe didn't work out that way for you. So there's 2 reasons that we go to college. You already did this, you already know this, but if you go back, it would be important for you to remember the 2 reasons that you go to college, because do you remember any of the classes you took? Not really. A little bit. You're freaky. Okay, so that's weird. But okay, most of them, no. Some scary homeworks occasionally, but you don't remember all of them, right? Comparative English literature? Yeah, critical thinking? Aha! I thought so! Yeah. So we remember some of them, but most of the classes over time fade in our memory. Okay? That's all. So, gotta be a reason to go to school. Okay, so there's 2 reasons. The very first reason, arguably, is so we learn how to solve problems. It's not the specific problem that matters. Because look, when you came out of high school, you were smart. You'd taken trigonometry. You'd taken Algebra 1. Okay? You knew everything. In fact, you could talk to your parents and say, Mom and Dad, I just want to let you know I know everything because I just graduated from high school, so thank you very much. And the answer was you knew nothing. But you went to college, right? And what happened in college? Well, in college you encountered a whole bunch of problems that were big, scary problems. They were a mess. You took your high school skills and you looked at the problem and you said, I've got a clue. I don't know how to solve that problem. No idea whatsoever. And then your college professors showed you how to take that big, scary problem and pull it apart into a whole bunch of little problems. Solve the little problems and then put it back together. They gave you a way to solve complicated problems. And they taught you a problem-solving methodology, right? So you may have forgotten the class, you may have forgotten the things that they taught you, but what you remember is what you went through to solve problems in that class. More importantly, you know you can do it. Confidence is huge in this type of deal. And with a little luck, you remember how to solve problems, right? So that's a great thing. What's the second thing that you learn in college? You know, I grew up in a little town in Illinois. What was interesting about the town that I grew up in is that everybody was like me. Everybody thought like me. Everybody ate the same food I ate. Everybody pretty much voted the same way I voted. Everybody was just like me. And then I went to college, and guess what? Everybody was not like me. People came from crazy, weird, far-off places. People spoke languages I had no idea what they were. People ate some really strange food. Okay? What happened is when I went to college, I met people from all over the world who were not like me. And it exposed me to the way the world really is, right? People who think differently, who act differently, who come from different places. And arguably, hey, think about your workplace, right? Are there different people there? People who grew up someplace besides where you grew up? Yeah, big time, right? Big time, right? Yeah, exactly. And arguably, I would say learning to get along with those people who are so different from you is huge. And college is arguably the first place that we learn to do it by ourselves. Mom, Dad, I'm there. So if you're going to get along with other people, like you have to do when you go out and get your career, college is where you learn how to do it. Huge. And we don't really think about it because we just sort of do it, but it was actually a huge growing up. All right. Ta-da! I went on to work for Siemens. Who knows what does Siemens do?
Everything.
That is actually the correct answer. Siemens does everything. So Siemens is a ginormous German company who does everything from washing and drying equipment to telephone equipment. I worked on the part of them that did telephone equipment. Now, I had been a software engineer when I worked for Boeing. When I went to work for Siemens, they hired me as what was called a systems engineer. Systems engineer, I don't know what that is, but boy, that sure sounds impressive, doesn't it? A lot better than software engineer, I'll tell you. Systems engineer is basically somebody who creates requirements, who's intellectually a step higher. I'm able to see the system. I'm able to think about what the system does. I'm able to write down requirements that tell you what the system should start to do. I did that for 2 years. Then what was interesting was they had a problem. Siemens made really, really complex products, and their salespeople did a poor job of selling those products. They were so complicated that when they went to a customer and said, you should buy our complicated product, the customer would say, well, your competitor has a really complicated product too. Why should I buy your complicated product instead of their complicated product? And the salespeople would say, Siemens, because it's our complicated product. And that wasn't good enough. So what Siemens realized is they needed somebody to explain to their salespeople why their products were the better products. Okay, that's cool. Well, I was a systems engineer, and I like to talk a lot. And so they said, you're just the person to become what we like to call a product manager, which is part of the marketing department. I said, rock and roll! So I did that job for 3 years. And then I left this job. Jim, why did you leave this job? Because I got another one of those college degrees. And before I got the college degree, I was Jim, and after I got the college degree, I was Jim. So I had to leave, right? Well, okay, that's good. Oh! Secret number 9, don't be a problem finder, be a problem fixer. Some of my best friends are software testers. What does a software tester do? Well, there we go. Test software. So if you're a software tester, what happens is somebody gives you some software. Here's some more software. You say thank you very much. And then you proceed to do stuff with it, right? You enter data, you enter long data, short data, wrong data, strange character data. You try to break the software. What happens when the software breaks if you're a software tester? What do? You report it. You come back and you say, well, I did this, and it did this, and it should not have done that. Correct? Is that valuable? Yeah. It is very valuable. Exactly. When the company runs into financial troubles, who do they lay off? Software testers or software developers? Software testers! Out you go! Why? Because software testers can find problems, but they cannot fix problems. Software developers, if pushed, can find problems. Can they fix them? Yeah. So a software developer is more valuable than a software tester. In a perfect world, arguably, a software tester does a much better job of testing than a software developer. But if you don't have enough money to pay both of them, you're going to stick with the software developer. Okay? Love my friends. They're great people, very talented in what they do. They're out the door because they're problem finders, not problem fixers. If you want to be valuable to the company that you work for, make sure that you are a problem fixer. If you're a person who goes around and says, that's not going to work, we don't do it that way here, we've tried it before and it doesn't work here, then I'm going to view you as being a problem finder. And when push comes to shove, I really don't want you to be part of my team. If I got to can somebody, you're the one I'm going to come back and can. Okay? Because you're not helping. You're pointing out problems, engineer boy, as we all do. I don't think that's going to work. Okay? But you're not helping. You're not fixing the problem, which means your time is short. Got it? And we all have this inside, okay? We all think the same thing. I don't think that's a good idea, right? But that's just complaining. That's not helping. All right. So I went to work for a company called Architel. They were located in Dallas, Texas. Architel was an interesting story. It was a startup. It had just gone public. They'd done their IPO, and they needed somebody to show up and help set up their marketing department. Set up their marketing department? Well, flattery will get you everywhere when you're talking to me. Why, certainly. I'd love to help you set up your marketing department. So what was interesting was Architel was my first experience with a startup. So startups are big or small? it's interesting. So I joined Architel, they showed me around the office and said, hey, Jim, this is the office, this is good stuff. And then they handed me a key. I'm like, what's up with the key? They said, oh, here you go. Because like when you leave, you should lock up. When I was working at Siemens and Boeing, they did not give me a key to lock up. Apparently there's a lot of other people there. They never locked up. So yeah, Architel was an interesting company. They made software that they sold to telephone companies. It was a great company. I had a blast working there. It was my very first experience with an organization that was that small. I knew everybody who worked for the company. Boeing, I sure as heck didn't know everybody who worked for Boeing. But Architel, I knew everybody. And it was a good gig up until the 1 year mark. Because what happened at the 1 year mark is I got my first evaluation from the vice president in the office that I was working. And it was not a good evaluation. I was like, where the hell did this come from? What it was is I discovered a dirty little secret of startups. Startups can have what I call a cult of personality. So somebody's personality really matters at a startup. In a big company, if somebody's a jerk or somebody's a nice person, it really doesn't matter that much because there's like 4,000 other people there, right? You know somebody's a jerk, you just avoid them. Somebody's nice, you hang out with them. It's not a big deal. If you're working at a startup and you've got somebody higher up on the chain who really feels strongly some particular way, that's the way it's going to be. But there's nothing you can do about it because it's a startup and there's not that many people there. He didn't like me. Okay, what are we going to do to fix this problem? We're not going to fix the problem. It's time for me to leave. Okay, see you later. All right, always sweat the small stuff. Look, for those of you who work at large corporations, you know the large corporations have lots of little rules. You will display your badge. Badge will be displayed on the belt or on the chest. It will be visible at all particular time. When you enter the building, you'll sign in, you'll sign out, you'll do stuff like that. When you go on a trip, you'll file an expense report within 10 days of completing the trip. Whatever. They're silly, foolish rules. They're more burden. Look, do they not know how important you are? You really cannot be burdened by these rules. You've got stuff going on. You're doing important things. Do not burden the company with your tiny little rules. Well, the trick with all those little rules is there's somebody behind those rules. You fill out the forms, you do the paperwork, there's somebody who receives that paperwork. It's somebody's job to make sure that those things get done. When you choose not to do them, you are disrespecting that person. And that person may be a tiny little person, but if you disrespect them long enough and hard enough, that tiny little person is going to become angry, and they can cause you a world of hurt. You don't need to do that. The key thing here is to remember you're not that darn important. Okay? If the company has rules, you're an employee of the company, you signed up to follow the rules. Okay? Don't be skirting around the rules, trying to get away with doing this stuff. It's not worth it. You're disrespecting somebody. Follow the rules. It's not that big of a deal. I left Architel and I went to the phonetically similar Alcatel. Anybody know what Alcatel does? Trick question. They do everything! It's the big French company that does everything. So what was interesting was Alcatel had been recruiting me to come to Dallas, and I had said, no, I'm going to go work for this little startup. Well, a year goes by, and I go, whoops, I made a mistake on that one. Should have gone to work for Alcatel. So I called up Alcatel and said, hey, remember how you guys were like recruiting me? Well, I made a mistake. They said, come, work for us. I said, hot damn. So literally, I went across town. Poof, got a job there. Life was good. I worked for them as a product manager for a year. It was a very cool gig. It had a lot to do with lasers, because it was optical communication. Blast and a half, got to travel, got to do all sorts of interesting stuff. This, after about a year, it was year 2000. Can anybody tell me what was going on, or roughly like 2000, 2001 time frame?
Y2K.com.
Y2K was a problem. Oh, that was interesting. .com. What was .com? What was the .com thing? What?
Internet startups.
Internet startups. And what? So little companies would show up and what? They'd be bought for what?
Billions.
Billions of dollars. So I got a call from this .com startup at this point after a year. They said, hey, would you like to come work for us? So what do you think I said?
Yes.
Hell yes. All right. Secret number 7, communicate. Has somebody seen the Ozzy Osbourne TV commercial where Ozzy goes into like a T-Mobile shop and he's trying to talk to the guy behind the counter? And so Ozzy, just in case you don't know, is a British gentleman who has done way too many of everything over the course course of his life. And so his communication skills are not really what they need to be. So he tries to talk to the young man behind the counter at T-Mobile, and he's like mumbling and slurring his words, and the guy's like, he just cannot understand what Ozzy's trying to tell him. So eventually Ozzy whips out his cell phone. He ends up like texting the young man, I'm interested in a phone or whatever it is. And the guy gets it and goes, oh yeah, I got your phone right here. And so they're able to communicate by using texting when they're like a foot away from each other. It's actually a very funny commercial. So the concept is that you are an engineer. You work in a workplace. What's interesting is that your most valuable asset is your ability to communicate. You've got great ideas in your head. You see problems. You understand how to solve problems. That's great, but that's not going to do them very good if you can't communicate to them how they need to take action to solve the problems, okay? So if you can't write, if you can't speak, if you can't clearly communicate your thoughts, it's not going to happen. When I worked at Alcatel, I had a boss. The boss was a great guy. He was from India. His English, not the best. His spelling, not the best. His grammar, not quite the best. And he loved instant messaging. So I'd be sitting at my desk, and on my screen, boop, a little instant message would pop up from the boss. I would look at it. And then I would call my friends over to my desk, and I would say, I've gotten an instant message from my boss, and I do not fully understand what he would like me to do. Can you help me understand what my boss's instant message is trying to tell me? And we would all stand around and look at the message, and then we would vote. I think he's trying to tell you to do this. No. Clearly, he's trying to tell you to do this. And we sort of, come to like, show hands. Okay, all right, so we think he's okay. We think it's this. And then I would send him back an instant message saying, so if I understand correctly, you would like me to do this. And then one of two things would happen. I'd get a quick response back like, yes! Or else I'd get one back going, no! Come see me! Darn, guessed wrong. So look, he was clearly in a management position. He was not a good communicator. Great guy, wonderful guy, but just not a good communicator. You should not fall into that position. Okay? Understand. The great ideas in your head that won't get out, won't get acted on if you don't take the time to clearly communicate with people. Make sure you spell correctly the little wiggly lines and stuff. You have to correct the words. Make sure you pick your words carefully. Okay? And don't write emails that are like this long. Just nobody's going to read that email, okay? Emails should be about this long, okay? But all this, you've got stuff going on. Keep it concise. Come see me if you want more information. Don't give me all the information. All right. I went to Santera Systems. .com madness. This was a cool job. Now, this was my second startup. How cool is this? So Santera Systems was a little company, but they had $200 million in venture capital financing. In the bank, they had $200 million. And they were going to make the next generation telephone switches. If you don't know what a telephone switch looks like, it looks like a mainframe. It's huge. It's gigantic. They had made a little telephone switch that had the same capacity as the big ones. It fit on a desk. It was absolutely amazing. It was a breakthrough, revolutionary product. There was no possible way they could fail because they had made the product. So what's cool about this place? Well, they had free soft drinks. Just go to the fridge and grab whatever you want. How cool is that? And every night they brought in food. Like Monday was Asian, Tuesday was Italian, Wednesday was like tacos. Every night, because they wanted you to stay, wanted you to work, so they bring in food. How cool is that? We had get-togethers that were really cool. We did stuff as a company. Man, that was a great job for about 2 years. And then I got fired. Really? Me? Dr. Jim fired? What the hell are you thinking of? Do you know who you're talking to? Well, apparently they did. So I did not see this coming, which is probably my bad. Now, in thinking back over the events that transpired prior to me being asked to leave, my boss and her boss left and went to work for another startup across town. That probably should have been a clue to me. I'm working at a hot startup, and my boss and her boss leave. Should have asked her why she was leaving. I really probably should have asked her. And they brought in another guy who was just not a very nice guy. And another guy to replace the vice president, and I didn't really connect with him. But that's okay, because I didn't really have to connect with him very long, because after about 2 years I was fired. So no two ways about this, guys. Getting fired is harsh. It's not fun. There's nothing enjoyable. It's you're pissed off, you're angry at the world, all sorts of stuff like that. I can only tell you one positive thing about getting fired. When you've been fired, if you ever get fired again, it's not that big of a deal because you've already been fired. What else can you do to me? Yeah, I'm already fired. Anyway, so it brings me to secret number 6. Don't fall in love with the company that you're working for. So you might think that you're working for the best company in the world. This is the place where you've always wanted to work. This is the company that people always talk about working for. Everybody wants to work for the company that you're working for. You've got to be working at the best company in the world, right? And so what do? Well, you stop networking. You stop developing your skills. Why bother? You've got the best job in the world. How cool is this? Until something happens. Okay, maybe you get fired. Maybe the company goes out of business. Maybe they merge with somebody and your job is a duplicate job or whatever, and you're out on the street. And you're out on the street and you have no network and your skills are old. Damn. But I loved you. Now what's wrong with loving a company? Love is good. Love can't possibly be bad, right? You can love a company. You can love a job. Quick question. Can the company love you back? No. So you're trapped in a one-way relationship, aren't you? You ever know somebody who was like, I don't know, dating somebody, and like the other person broke up with them, but like they didn't know it, or they weren't like admitting it? So you'd say like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, well, I think it's going better. Meanwhile, you know the other person, and you're like, you know it's over, right? And they're like, no, really, I think we're doing better. Yeah, okay, so sort of the same thing. So don't fall in love with your job. You might have a good job. You might have a job that you enjoy. Fantastic, wonderful. I think that that's great. But don't love it because it's temporary. Did we talk about the 12? Did we talk about the 12 employers you're going to have? We already talked about that, right? So the job that you have is not the last job you're going to have. You're going to move on from the job that you have right now. You have to be planning for the next job. Don't love this job because there's other jobs for you to date later on. Ta-da! So it's interesting. So after Santera decided to lay me off at the depths of the dot-com recession, by the way, it really pisses me off to lose a job when the country has gone into a recession and tech jobs are not to be found. That sucks. But I decided to go back to school. I had been about halfway through my MBA at this point in time. My dad gave me some great advice. He said, hey, you got time. Why not just go to school? So for the next 8 months, I went back to school, finished up my MBA. It would have taken me another like 2 or 3 years. It took me 8 months. Got it done. Funny thing, studying for my final exam, Verizon calls. Hey, would you be willing to come work for us? Well, don't got anything else going on. So sure, I'd love to come work for you. Poof. So I went off and I went to work for Verizon as a product manager for 1 year. We were given the assignment to take the software that Verizon, the telephone company, had developed to run their phone network and sell it to other phone companies so they could get back basically their investment in the software. Makes sense. We set up the best deal in the world. We got Deutsche Bundespost, which is the German telephone company, to agree to pay us $100 million for a piece of software. It was a billing piece of software, very, very complex stuff. Yay! So we took it to our senior management and ran it up the approval cycle, and it got to the very top, and the CIO took a look at it and said, what the hell are you people doing? Do you know the exposure you're going to cause for us if we sell our software to other phone companies? If it doesn't work for them, they can come back and sue us for like lost revenue. No way we're going to do this. This is the stupidest idea I've ever heard of. You're all laid off. That's harsh. You know, first off, I was very familiar with that laid off thing because I just spent 8 months out of a job. Okay, so that sort of sucked. I've only been there a year. Now you laid me off again? Bastards. But interesting enough, interesting thing about Verizon. Verizon had a cool policy. If we lay you off, you've got 30 days as an employee to find a new job before you really get laid off. So for the next 30 days, I worked my butt off. looking inside the company to find a job. And I found one as a project manager. Now, am I a project manager? I'm a product manager. But, you know, when you need a job, you need a job. So I was willing to be a project manager for 3 years. I worked on the Verizon Fios program, which was an $18 billion program to run fiber to people's houses. Pretty cool project, actually. I can't really complain about that. But I was working as a project manager, which isn't really my calling line. So that job sort of sucked. But it's okay. It was a paycheck. I enjoyed that. Later on, I found an opportunity to become a product manager, and for the next 6 years, I worked for Verizon as a product manager, working in the field of healthcare, working in the field of building automation, and working in the field of video surveillance, and also financial industry. So I did a lot of different things for them, and at the tail end, they said, Jim, we really don't need your services anymore. Now, this is the way it works at Verizon. Every year, around Thanksgiving, they have a layoff, because they have to balance the books. They always lay people off. And I had dodged that bullet for 10 years. And then the next bullet fell. Damn it, so close. All right, well, so be it. Then we move on. Secret number 5 to having a successful career, be nice to everybody. So look, you're a busy person. You really don't have time to be nice to everybody, okay? So I'm going to suggest that you really just be nice to the people that matter, okay? Find the people that matter, be nice to them, and just don't worry about the other people. Seems like a good idea, right? It's an efficient way for you to use your time. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we're engineers. You know, we're pretty rational about this stuff. Be nice to the people that matter. The important people. One problem with that overall great idea, and the problem is, it's not always clear who the important people are. And then sometimes people who are not important become important. So I was working for Siemens, and it was interesting because the CEO started as a lab tech and became CEO. Do you think everybody was nice to him on his way up? No. Did he remember everybody who treated him badly? Yes, he did. And he got his revenge after he became CEO. People just started disappearing. So be nice to everybody because you don't know who you're going to be working for tomorrow. Tell people about your work. Okay, so we're engineers. We know we do good work. We know we do great work. Now, how are we going to get recognized for the great work that we do? We just do it. We set it out, and people magically see that we do great designs, great work, great filter design, great financial plans, great whatever LexisNexis does. Right? All we have to do is good work and we will be recognized for our good work, right? No. You can do great work and nobody will ever recognize you, engineer person, because you're hidden back in a corner where nobody will ever see you and nobody will ever see your work. In order to get recognized, you have to tell people about the great work that you do. And this is a tricky thing to do, because if you're not careful, this sounds an awful lot like bragging. Do we like hanging out with people who brag? No, we don't really. So how can you tell people about your work without sounding like you brag? Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it. One interesting way, one way I would like you to consider is, look, in the past you have solved problems. People will be solving similar problems in the future. What you need to do is keep your eyes open. When you see somebody being asked to solve a problem that looks a lot like a problem that you solved in the past, you need to find them. And you need to say, hey, look, it looks like you're trying to solve a problem that I dealt with a while ago. Could I help you? Could I provide you with some of the information that I used? Could I show you how I solved my problem? Everybody always likes to be helped when they've got a problem to be solved. You will offer your assistance, which is a very kind and wonderful thing to do. You'll also be advertising, you did this in the past. You've solved this problem. You will get recognition for the work that you've done. So it's like doing a nice thing and getting a bonus for it. How cool is that? And logic. So I had some concerns after I got laid off from Verizon. I'd been there for 10 years, and that was the longest I'd ever been any place. So when I got laid off from Verizon, I was like, I'm a little bit screwed here. Who's going to hire somebody who's been at a company for that long, right? Okay, fine. Well, it turned out Enlogic was willing to hire me. Now, Enlogic was a small startup. Woo! We've done this one before. This is startup number 3. Okay? What they were doing is they were manufacturing what are called PDUs, or power distribution units. Okay? And these are basically power strips that get sold to data centers. Okay? They're roughly about 4 feet tall. They contain up to 44 outlets. And they made a great one that had a computer built into it, which could monitor how much energy was being used on each individual outlet and all these other great, wonderful things. So they made a high-end PDU. This was the coolest job ever. I joined them 2 days later. They said, hey, Jim, would you go to Shanghai? Would I go to Shanghai? Why, yes, I would go to Shanghai. Thank you very much. I traveled throughout Western Europe. Hey, Jim, would you go to the CeBIT Electronics Show? Why, certainly, I would love to go to the CeBIT Electronics Show, the world's largest electronics show in Europe. Okay, I'll go. Hey, Jim, would you be willing to go to Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur, Shanghai, and Singapore? Okay, sounds like a long trip, but I guess I could probably do that, sure. Hey, Jim, would you be willing to become a gold member on United in just like 3 months? Okay, I guess that's okay, I can do that too. Coolest job in the world! For 6 months until they fired me. Damn it. Now, once again, let's go back to the whole firing thing. This hurts. I don't like to get fired. But it's the second time. So yeah, it sucks. But been there, done that, right? So this is a weird one. Why did they fire me? It's not 100% clear why they fired me. They were laying off their European sales team at the same time that they fired me. It's a startup. I have chosen to work in marketing at startups. I don't think there is a riskier job in the world. If a startup runs into financial problems, guess what they get rid of first? The marketing guy. By the way, that's me! Anyway, they said, Jim, thanks, it's been great 6 months. See ya. Really? Okay, thanks. It was great. 6 months. Best half year ever. So I sad about that. Secret number 3. So as engineers, how do we communicate with other people in the company? All too often we send an email, right guys? I would like you to do something for me, so I will send you an email. Because I'm really good at writing emails, right? What do you think people do when they get your email? So I was in a situation, it was an interesting situation. I was working with a development team when I was playing the role of a project manager. And I went and I had a vice president who said, hey, I'd like to see a new feature on Monday. So could you have your team work on it over the weekend? I said, sure, no problem. I went to my team and said, hey guys, I need you guys to work on this feature over the weekend. And they said, we really can't do that. The vice president asked me, I said, why do you think that you cannot work on it over the weekend? And they said, well, because we don't have any requirements. All right, let's go get you some requirements. So I called up the requirements team. It was a big company. Called up the requirements team and I said, hey, I need you to provide my development team with some requirements. And they said, we'd love to, but we don't have any funding to do that. I said, well, okay, call the finance department, get funding. They said, we have sent them like 100 emails and we've not heard anything back from them. So no, we can't do it. Okay. I said, look, here's the scoop. I have a PhD in computer science. I will solve this problem. So I reached down, I picked up my phone, and I called the finance department and I said, hey, look, I need some requirements. You guys want to free up some funding to do it? And they said, sure, no problem, we'll take care of it right now. Thanks, appreciate it. Later in the day, I bumped into my boss, and he said, hey, I heard we got some requirements and the development team's working over the weekend. Congratulations. How'd you fix that problem? I didn't think we were going to be able to get them to do that. And I said, well, you know, I got a PhD in computer science, and I can explain it to you, but it's sort of complicated, okay? Let's just go with it. So, you know, the trick is, look, we've got, what, 5 or 6 different ways to communicate in an office. So 1 is email. What's 2? What's a different way to communicate with people in an office?
Face-to-talk.
Face-to-face. Oh my God, how scary is that? You'll freak people out if you show up. Okay, but you're right, face-to-face. What else we got?
Written notes or
Leave a note, drop by, leave them a note. What else?
instant message.
Instant message, that's definitely one.
Telephone.
Telephone. Cool, we're up to 5, there might be 6 or 7. We got a bunch of different ways to communicate with people, right? Email is a good way, but it's not the only way. If email doesn't do it for you, use one of the other ones. And yeah, you can freak them out if you show up, right? It's like, ah! Engineers. Oh man, we are great people, but Lord, we suck at making decisions. What do engineers like to do? We like to collect information, right? We like to get answers to everything. Thank you very much, I got all the answers. Now I can make a decision. And if I have answers to everything, I will not make the wrong decision. Haha, because I'm an engineer, I'm smart that way. But do you ever have all the information that you need? Never. No, not in this lifetime. So what do you have to do? You have to make a decision without having all the information. How scary is that?
Take the risk.
Take the risk. Well, you know, it's interesting because there's actually a way to solve this problem. Oftentimes we're being asked to make a decision about something big, right? We don't have all the information. We're like, I'm screwed. What you can do is you can take that big decision and break it up into a smaller decision. Look, you don't have to commit to doing the $18 billion project. You can commit to spending $1 million to do some research, to move it forward. Maybe there's some part of that project you would do no matter which design path you decide to take. Do that part that's the common part right now. You'll move it forward, time will advance. When you get to the end of that, you will have more information. Things will have become clearer. Okay? At that point in time, you can make a big, full decision. You need, as an engineer, to learn to make decisions without having all the facts. It's critical. So who do I work for now? I work for a company called GSL Solutions based in Tampa. It is a startup. It is my fourth startup. This is the one that's going to work. 4 is the trick for me. Believe me, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 is going to be successful. I just know it. What does GSL Solutions do? It's interesting. The company's been around for about 15 years, and they got started creating websites for U.S. senators. Now, U.S. senators have deep pockets. They can pay for stuff. It's really cool. And they want to have the perfect website that doesn't look like anybody else's website. It's a very demanding customer. The owner of the company has kids. The kids grew up. The kids went off to school. One day he had to go pick up the kids, so he had to figure out what time the kids got out of school, so he went to the school's website, and he discovered that the school's website sucked. It was really rather bad. He said, oh my goodness gracious, my company creates websites for senators. We certainly should be able to create websites for schools. It turns out there's 144,000 public schools in North America, 144,000 potential customers for GSL Solutions. So GSL Solutions is taking their ability, the fancy term is content management system, but it's a system that allows everybody at the school to pour into it everything that's going on at the school. Dances, football games, testing schedules, et cetera, school lunches, et cetera. You pour it into the system using easy-to-use tools, and it automatically produces a great-looking interactive website. So it's a really cool tool. It does good things, and school districts seem to really like it. It's early on. This company has the ability to become Facebook #2 if they do things right. And I am the Vice President of Product Management. Does that sound impressive?
Really?
It sounds impressive to me when I say it. Now there's 10 people at the company, so it's not really quite as impressive when you know that. But still, Vice President. So I had to leave 4 jobs, get laid off twice, and get fired twice to become a vice president. My mom is so proud of me.
It was coffee.
Now she's proud. All right, so where are we at here? Secret number 1, you got a degree, now start learning. So look, congratulations engineer type people, you all have degrees, yay! But what is your plan for staying current in your field? You became an engineer because you were attracted to the profession because it's not accounting. The accounting field is a Okay, just checking. I didn't want to be out there. I just wanted to have to double check it. Accounting is a fantastic profession. The rules for accounting were laid down 2,000 years ago, and they really have not changed much since then. So if you don't like change, Choose accounting as your career. It's a good career. You'll always get a job. We always need accountants, right? But you didn't do that, did you? You chose engineering because engineering has a lot to do with change. Engineering is always evolving. The technology, the tools, the insights is always changing. And that's what makes engineering so exciting. But it also means that when you got out of school, you instantly became screwed. Because in school, your teachers were spoon-feeding you the latest technology, the latest techniques. Now, since you got out of school, how have you been staying current? Keep learning. I watch a lot of the Discovery Channel. Okay, so that, and I listen to NPR, so that should be pretty good too, right? No, that's not nearly good enough. The way you stay current is, first off, you join the IEEE. Why do you join the IEEE? Because it costs a quarter a day, 25 cents a day, to join the IEEE. IEEE has bright, smart people in your area who do research and determine what counts and what doesn't count, and they will tell you. They will invite you to conferences where they talk about the stuff that you do for a living. They will send you magazines that deal with the topics that are going on in your particular network of engineers. They will have local meetings where people who do the same thing as you, or similar to you, get together. You need to know those people. And why do you need to know those people? Because the job that you have right now is not the job that you're going to retire from, right? That means you're going to need another job at some point in time, correct? So maybe if you met some of the local people in your IEEE section, someday they might be useful to you. Is that possible? Also, IEEE put you into this huge international network of people who do stuff like you. Wow, how cool is that? Right? Are they smarter than you? Yeah, probably. You run into a problem, a challenge, or something that's going on in your job that you don't quite know how to solve. If you're an IEEE member, you've got this network of people you can reach out to and say, I've got a challenging problem. How would you solve this? And they will answer your question for free. And then you can go back to your boss and say, I think we should do it this way, Dan. And they'll be like, wow, you're really smart. I'm glad I sent you to school in Pennsylvania. I really like that. All right. So where do you go from here? Well, you know, it all depends on what you want to do with your career. If you want to be what we call an individual contributor who creates code or designs for the rest of your life, fantastic. You're fact up and happy. Go for it. If you'd like to move up the management chain, you're going to have to develop a set of different skills from what you have right now. They're what Don Wu likes to call the soft skills. Great, fabulous. Going to get a book on soft skills? No. Because they're really sort of squishy, right? What are they? Well, they're management skills, their leadership skills, their public speaking skills, their negotiating skills. Man, what an effort. All that stuff? Yeah, really? If you want to be a good manager or a good leader, you need to have all those skills. That sounds like a lot of effort. Well, they pay more. Oh, okay. Suddenly sounds not so bad. So I read a blog. It's called theaccidentalitleader.com. And on this particular blog, I talk about all the skills that you will need to advance your career, to move to the next level. If you're interested in doing that, I'm just saying, this is the place to go check out and just sort of see what's there. Lots of
things there, or
yeah, I'm trying to spell something, I'll probably do. You get the gist of it. Sorry about that. Sometimes people, it was a test. You passed! They fail. You passed.
Passed it through ITV.
All right, last thought. Everything changes, never ever stand still. Look, I've had a fantastic, wonderful 28-year career. Do not really want to get fired twice, but whatever. Do not want to get laid off twice, but you know, whatever. Stuff happens. You move along and you get to where you're at. It has been one heck of a ride. Okay, I would not change anything in my career because it's made me the person I am today. Blast. It has been a blast. It's certainly not been boring, I'll tell you that much. Now, I'm 28 years in. How long is my career going to last?
45.
Oh my God! If this much has happened during the first 28 years, what the hell is going to happen in the next half? I have no idea. But I'm along for the ride, I'm going to find out. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
You might be asking yourself, where do I go from here? The ability to manage an IT team and to do it well is a skill that you will use during your entire career. It sure makes sense to invest the time and energy that it takes to become a great IT manager. A great way to start doing this is to sign up for the free The Accidental IT Leader newsletter. This monthly publication is sent to your inbox and is overflowing with tips and techniques on how you can manage your IT team in a way that will make your life easier, even as you get the most out of your team. We'll cover how to recruit and interview new team members, how to create goals that everyone will be willing to follow, what to do about underperforming team members, how to do evaluations, and how to manage your boss's needs. We might even cover an IT manager career tip or two. Hey, the newsletter is free, so you can't go wrong there. In the description of this video, you'll find a link that you can click on. Go ahead and click on it and you'll be taken to a web page that will let you sign up for the newsletter. There's even a free gift in it for you when you do. Thanks for watching this video. Sign up for the newsletter and congratulations on starting your journey to accidentally becoming a powerful and effective IT manager.